Juha Kuosmanen. You have a very important role at Microsoft in charge of the development of and the operation and the management of Microsoft, the Microsoft device ecosystem platform, MDEP. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
You're very welcome. Now, can we start? Not everyone will be familiar with MDEP. What is MDEP and why did you introduce it?
Yeah. So MDEP is a Microsoft device ecosystem platform. So it's fundamentally a Microsoft's Android distribution.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, then related cloud components, it's enterprise level security, manageability, and comes with a native integration to all Microsoft services.
Super. Now, there are certain devices out there that you just wouldn't run on Windows. Did you find, in and around meeting rooms, perhaps in digital signage, was it a case of you thought that, well, if we can't beat them, we'll join them, but we'll make them play by our rules? Is that part of what's going on?
Well, kind of the history of that is Microsoft obviously has a long history then building Windows-based devices for most of the corporations of the world.
Yeah.
What then we started noticing is that Android is obviously in ARM-based devices, then leading the path, so to speak. But then there's not a kind of a really heavy investment of making Android enterprise quality operating system in a similar way than Windows.
Yeah.
So a lot of our customers then kept coming to Microsoft and saying that hey, we're kind of worried about having these devices in our network.
Yeah.
They don't really have a proper enterprise level security.
Yeah.
They don't get maintenance. They don't get updates, similar as Windows do. So can you guys help us?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we started looking into building our own AOSP-based kind of a platform, which is now MDEP, obviously, which then aims kind of to fill the gap that you have Windows-based devices in your enterprise as well as the MDEP-based devices in the enterprise. And then from the CIOs and IT admins point of view, they all show in the same way.
So MDEP is independent of Microsoft Teams. It's an operating system. Microsoft Teams Rooms is a room system.
Absolutely, yeah.
Why did the first uptake of MDEP come in Microsoft Teams Rooms?
Yeah, so important point. So we are not a collaboration OS in some sense. So we see MDEP being a enterprise IoT system.
Yeah.
And then why collaboration was first, there just was kind of a clear demand.
Yeah.
So again, Android started having more and more popularity in the collaboration space. And again, like those were the first customers coming to us with their security concerns. So there was kind of a clear demand for us, and obviously we had a great internal customer and our partner Teams team, who we've been working together for a few years. So it was kind of a natural place for us to get started. Now then we are kind of pretty much then have a great partnership with most or all of the OEM players in that domain. And then this upcoming year and next year, we're going to start more and more focusing on the different IoT categories, and digital signage being first one of those.
So in terms of the uptake in the meeting room, how many of the major players have now adopted MDEP to replace their proprietary Android, which was causing concerns to enterprise buyers?
All the OEMs in the Teams domain have committed to MDEP other than one company so far.
All but one.
Yeah.
So that's almost complete.
Very much.
Penetration.
Yeah.
When I was at Infocom last year, there seemed to be some developments with digital signage. What's happening with MDEP and digital signage?
Yeah, we started about 6 months ago and sort of a pilot program with a company called AIDEA.
Yep.
And they've been kind of facilitating, they are an OEM and an ODM, they work with multiple partners in the digital signage domain. And they are building both their own devices as well as then working as an ODM for multiple different partners. Mm-hmm. So during this spring we are sort of looking to finalize that pilot, then they are shipping their devices later this spring. And then we are starting to expand and pretty much doing the same playbook that we did with the collaboration partners. So again, heavy investment for us then this year for the digital signage domain.
There are a number of things going on there. So I've seen, when I went to the IDEA stand, I saw they listed 10 CMS software companies as partners and 6 display manufacturers that I could see. Where do you see the first use cases for MDEP where do you see them happening outside of the meeting room?
Yeah, well, first of all, obviously, digital signage is a huge domain, so it kind of includes almost multiple verticals as such.
Yeah.
Then our key focus is sort of within the corporations in the beginning.
Yeah.
So, like the vision that we have for MDEP is fundamentally to ensure that any single device that joins your company network has the security that is expected from Microsoft. Again, like lowering the concerns from IT admins. So the digital signage, then whatever way you are using it in your corporation, in your lobbies, in your meeting rooms, then for the employee communication and so forth is the first priority to us. And then of course expand the kind of a more known use cases then in the digital signage displays, then wherever you might see them, both interactive and non-interactive displays. We talked about like retail is being a big part of, as an example, for digital signage, and then people often think that those are not kind of a corporate devices, but in some sense they are, because then those devices have to be maintained and owned by somebody. So we're not directly, obviously, then working with the retailers having those display devices, but a company or corporation who owns those devices, and then ensures that there's no stoppage in usage. You see this kind of a blank screens in TVs, making sure that they're always up and running 24/7, and also again coming back to the security, which is kind of a foundational element for MDEP.
So just going back to meeting rooms, there are a couple of things that come to mind. So when I passed by the Microsoft booth this morning, I spoke to a member of staff there who told me that Teams rooms were now about, in terms of installations, you might have to correct me if you know, it's about 50% Teams rooms on Windows, 50% Teams rooms on Android. But there had been a lot of reluctance among enterprise buyers to use the Android versions. Will you, paradoxically, be making, and also because it didn't have Microsoft Teams rooms on Android didn't have the feature set of Windows, will you paradoxically be making the Android version of Microsoft Teams rooms more attractive?
Well, we are, but definitely on purpose. So obviously we are a Windows house.
Yeah.
And there's a significant investment in Windows, then whether it's on Teams or any other platform. So Windows implementation of the Teams rooms is probably still ahead of Android.
Yeah.
The gap is getting closer and closer and smaller. But then at the end of the day, it's not about Windows or Android from our point of view, especially because Android for us is MDEP. It's all about Microsoft services. Because again, from MDEP's point of view, it's not the OS platform on its own. It is the connection to your backends, to Intune, where you manage these services. It's the Copilot experiences and the Microsoft AI capabilities that you can use with these devices, and multiple different assets that we have. So we don't feel that there's sort of the internal competition, whether if Windows wins, then it's great for us as well. We are part of Windows Group. But then we just want to offer an alternative for companies who want to look into ARM-based devices, which then obviously run on AOSP.
When you look at Teams rooms, a lot of the device manufacturers have to seek certification from Microsoft. It's almost become a necessary step to be a player in the market. Microsoft Teams rooms is the dominant system. Do you feel that need for certification has been a big driver of the adoption of MDEP by device manufacturers?
Oh, absolutely, it has. So looking a couple of years back, then MDEP was not a mandatory part of Teams certification. Now it is.
Yeah.
So that obviously has helped us then obviously to gain market share and the help. But we're working very closely with the Teams team, and again, this is the intention.
Yeah.
So a way for us as a Microsoft to ensure that the rooms are secure, the devices are updated and maintained, and they have the latest and greatest technologies, goes via certification. But then the certification process is completely owned by the Teams team, so we are not involved as such. So in a similar way that Windows Teams on top of Windows is certification for Teams room on Windows. It's the same way. We don't get involved with the certification details. That's for Teams, and we just build the platform in a similar way than on Windows. And customers make a choice which one they want to have.
If certification was helping to drive adoption in the meeting room market, but in digital signage you don't really have certification in the same way. So what would make MDEP attractive enough to achieve the same level of adoption in digital signage as you've seen in the meeting room device?
There's multiple reasons, but I mean, if I would need to pick the most important one, it will be security. So we've been discussing with multiple different Fortune 500 companies during the past year, and now that MDEP adoption is getting so well known and recognized in these companies, there's multiple CIOs telling us that they are not going to allow any Android-based devices in their corporation or in their network unless it's MDEP. So it's the security foundation that you learn to expect from Windows, and the same applies to MDEP. This is kind of a big thing for us again, and we need to show that we deliver on the capabilities as well. So on top of security, of course, there is the manageability part to Intune and all the other services that we can build and offer to MDEP. So it's not really a criteria in that sense, but then I think that the corporations have now learned from the collaboration space that these things like a security is really mandatory for any device that joins the network.
Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about the development in the future. Can we start with MDEP itself and its uses? It's primarily about or the value that it brings. It's primarily about security and manageability, and there are features around identity. Can you tell us how that's developed, and will it develop further? What's happening there?
We have so far released about 2 to 3 MDEP releases per year.
Yeah.
We are supporting Android 13 and Android 15 currently. First Android 15 devices are out there, and next then we are moving. We do odd numbers for Android, and the next we are looking into moving to Android 17 in the upcoming year. In addition to that, then we publish security updates on a monthly basis. And we have a very strict policy for all our OEM partners that what's the cadence that they need to take these updates to ensure that we don't kind of fall back into the challenge that Android originally has, that you have these devices in the network for years and then they actually don't get updated. Many of the companies run either in collaboration or IoT-based devices which are Android 10 without security updates for multiple years. So again, we have a very, very strict cadence and agreements with the partners that when we ship, they don't necessarily need to take the new release obviously the next day, normal practice like it would be in Windows. But there are certain time limits, time windows that they need to ensure that those devices keep up or are maintained and updated.
So one thing that comes to mind just before we talk about the future in terms of applications and devices is, I was quite interested to see that there were a number of manufacturers of educational displays, so interactive flat panel displays, among the partners for that we've seen who are adopting MDEP at this show. And I was fascinated because I thought, it's touted as digital signage, it will be in some corporates, it will be in retail.
Yeah.
I was very surprised to see the educational display specialists signing up for MDEP, even though obviously they are Android displays.
Yeah. Well, education seems to be a very big and attractive market, so it's kind of early days for us still. Mm-hmm. So we are kind of learning some of these vertical categories that I mentioned earlier. But definitely then there seems to be a huge interest in the education side. So we are definitely interested in helping them to kind of achieve their goals and targets.
And in the future, how far could this go? Will there be more categories of devices? Will there be an MDEP phone? How far will this go in the future, do you think?
Well, not to kind of select any single category as such, but then we do feel that when it comes to ARM-based devices, then we are kind of looking to extend MDEP as far as we can. Of course, still the number one priority for us is enterprises and corporations, which still is a pretty big domain. What's next after that, then we'll see. But we are definitely open to look into all possibilities.
Okay. Well, Juha Kuosmanen, thank you very much for joining us and talking to us about MDEP.
Thank you very much. Great to be
Cheers.
here.
Thank you.